You're watching the Mondays with Midja podcast. Midja is founder and CEO of Legal Leadership, a company specialising in the leadership training and coaching of lawyers. Get set to jumpstart your week with a shot of mojo as Midja and her guests talk all things life, love and leadership.
Hey, it's Monday and I'm Midja and welcome to the podcast all about life, love and leadership. I am in the studio today with Jodie Robinson, who is special counsel at McCullough Robertson. Welcome, Jodie.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
So, Jodie, before our guests come into the studio, we Google them, find out everything about them professionally and obviously work history, and we'll talk about that. But firstly, share something with us that I would not have found out via Google, something that's hidden.
I used to want to be a dancer, so I love to dance. If there is a dance floor opportunity, I will completely hog it. Absolutely love it. Used to grow up, used to dream of running away to the Kelly Abbey Dance School with my best friend to go and be a professional dancer. But then, grew up, got a part-time job and stopped dancing and did all the next things. So now I don't do it probably even as a hobby. I took a dance class in my late 20s and realised that my body couldn't do the same thing. Quickly injured myself and decided that I would just leave it to something that I do for fun.
Okay. Well, we have that in common, Jodie, because of course I love to dance, having done Dancing CEOs, which, could be in your future, possibly. And I have been part of an adult dance troupe down here,
wow.
competing in the mature and motivated section of Gold Coast Eisteddfod. So that's
like
an
that.
option.
Mature and motivated.
I know, that's what they call the section. It's I don't know about that name, but okay. So dance moves, and obviously still love to dance socially.
Absolutely, yeah.
There's a dance floor, you're on it.
If there's a dance floor, I'll probably be the first person on it.
I love that. Okay, we'll leave the dancing shoes to one side for a moment and let's talk tax. Now, you're like a tax guru. And when I talk to people about you, your name comes up, we're not talking behind your back, but I'm just saying when people talk about you, there's definitely admiration, but there's a sense of like you absolutely in your field are a real specialist and know your stuff and have such a strong reputation. So let's firstly talk a little bit about your background and sort of where you've come from to get to this point in your career. Let's talk about that first.
Yeah, sure. I started in a Gold Coast firm, did articles, the old school way of becoming a lawyer, and was working primarily in commercial law. So did lots and lots of commercial law, business transactions, all of that sort of thing. And it's a brilliant firm. It was an absolutely amazing opportunity and space to grow. But then I got to, maybe about fifth year lawyer level, and I just wasn't loving it. I felt like I looked at all my peers and they were loving their careers. They were so passionate about what they did. And as much as I love the commercial world and I love business clients, there was something missing. And I started doing a lot more strategic work with businesses and our business clients, and started looking at financials a lot more and started learning around the role that tax plays in transactions and how if you don't get it right, you can get a completely different outcome versus setting someone up, structuring them the right way, giving them the right framework, and how much of a difference that could then make to businesses, which then meant more generational growth. They can hire more staff. And for me, it was the first time when I stumbled into that area that I felt like I was really making a difference.
Okay. And so why law to start with for you?
I actually had enrolled to do human resource management and ended up with a better OP than I was expecting.
Oh, surprise.
And
yay.
I just thought some rallies got in my ear and said, you really shouldn't waste that. What about medicine? And I thought, nah, no thanks. And then law was the next choice. And I remember sitting in those, really awkward first year law lectures where they go around the room and they sort of talk about, why did you do law? And there's all these like amazing people, but just, well, my family have done law and I've always wanted to be a lawyer and I'm passionate about justice. And the only answer I could come up with was I really like John Grisham novels. And I didn't love law to begin with, but I my parents always taught me that when you start something, you finish it and you make a really good go of it. So
I love that. Okay.
Yeah, I just kept following the next steps. So it was like articles, I better find a job, and was just very fortunate to end up working with amazing people who their passion then ignited my passion.
Yes. Yeah.
And I still think to this day I tell people I enjoy my job, but my passion is more for the people in law. So both the clients and the staff. Then law as a institution.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I think because I get asked a lot around, different careers in law, why do law, why study law? And, the amount of people I speak to who are who have found their passion within the law and that legal background and the knowledge and that has just been able to put them in the position where they can do work that they love. And sometimes that, because the experience of being a lawyer is so different depending on the type of law you do and the firm you're in and whether it's government or not government or, so many opportunities and choices for law graduates and young lawyers or lawyers to pivot, of course, throughout their career. So I like that. Finding out, what turns you on, as I say.
Yeah, very much. And not sort of thinking, I guess the risk in the early days was just law in general. It's not it for me. And I was lucky to have some really good mentors who just encouraged me to try on the different hats. And I worked with partners who were just as embracing of that and sort of said, and when I would share with them, hey, I love this, and then they would help sort of steer me. And I think particularly in relation to tax, I remember wanting to do my business law specialist accreditation. That's the one I really wanted to do. But my partners, who are also still today mentors of mine at the time, really encouraged me to do tax. And I was so petrified because there are not very many tax specialists. But I did it and absolutely love it. I love everything there is about tax. I am happy to be the proudest tax nerd in the room.
Because it's upon meeting you, because I had, and I don't want to offend you or have this guy coming out the wrong way. I feel we're friends, so it'll be fine. But I'd heard so much about you from, I suppose, from a legal specialist, technical point of view. And I think, like most people, had this assumption of, guru specialist tax lawyer. Who is this Jodie and what is she going to be like? And then meeting you at a few events, I'm like, this is Jodie. This is who. And it was, refreshing to say the least around, personality-wise, like really authentic, really genuine. And I could tell that obviously you've got the specialist knowledge, but also a people person, also being able to connect with people, empathy, connection, rapport, all that good stuff.
Yeah, thank you. That's embraces everything, really, that I do. And I think the other benefit of being a tax lawyer is you sort of go to a room, and I remember being in a Gold Coast Women's Networking room, a huge room. Like, it was really great to see so many women of the profession out, really celebrating what they do. But I met so many of the same type of lawyer.
Yes.
To the point where I was the only tax lawyer in the room. And then at following events, it was always like, people don't always remember your name, but it was like, you're that tax girl, and that led to my Instagram, you know, which is more about camping than tax. But anyway.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, because oftentimes, you know, when I'm meeting new people or, I don't know, either in business or personal life and stuff, and they're like, oh, you're a lawyer. And they're like, I bet most of your friends and that are lawyers. And I'm like, well, yes, they are. Like, friends and family mostly are lawyers. And I said, but don't give me that face, because we are fun. Like, we are, like, if you saw us, like, you know, maybe I'm biased. I don't know. But I think the tribe has a pretty good time.
Definitely.
You know, we got a good crew of friends and colleagues and connections.
Yeah, and I think
in the wider circle.
Working in what can be such a serious field sometimes, and you are helping people with their problems every day, no matter what area you do. I think you need to have a crew around you who can embrace life, love life, and just know how to have fun and enjoy the moment. Absolutely.
So you spoke earlier about, you know, mentors in your career, and it's certainly a big piece that I talk to lawyers about, particularly, you know, stepping up in their career, about finding mentors and that relationship piece. Maybe a little bit more from you on that, on the role of mentors in your career.
Yeah, I think it's really important to have mentors, and I was told that you should always have 3 people in your life, someone that's really a mentee that's coming up under you that you can guide and you know, help them with their direction of whatever that looks like, a peer who you can challenge yourself with and keep each other accountable, and then a mentor, which I was told to look for somebody who, you know, not from an envy point of view I wanted to be, but somebody who was living the kind of life that I would want to lead. And so for me, finding legal mentors meant looking for lawyers who were both exceptional in their field, but family people, because family is so dear to me and so important that there are lots of great lawyers who have devoted their entire lives to their career, and that's their choice, and they love that, and that's fine for them. Mine has been more about finding those mentors who understand that wanting to have a great family life, and even just to, you know, go on holidays and have fun, and but also be a great lawyer, that you don't have to compromise either.
Yes.
It might look, the scales might go a bit different at times.
Absolutely.
But yeah, you can have both. So I was really lucky to have some mentors who still today, very much some of the partners that I grew up with in law. And like, I spent 18 years at my first firm.
Wow. Okay.
So very much grew up as a lawyer there. You know, I learned a lot of things.
Did you start when you were 10? Is there some child prodigy or something, Jodie, going on?
No, I was just straight out of uni, straight in.
Yep.
Off I went, didn't have the gap year. And yeah, just really wanted to be a partner and all those things that I think, you know, were very much back then, that was the only path.
Me too.
Yep. And there wasn't another path.
That path to partnership, I was head down, and that was the goal, and nothing. I think I took like a week off with my first baby, a week maternity leave. And I said to my husband at the time, I'm like, because there was a big leadership retreat happening at Korean Cove.
Yep.
And he was a premie. He was like 4 weeks early to start with. And, you know, jaundice, had a few issues going on. And we were home a week or two, and I said, get that baby, bundle him up. We're off to Korean Cove. I'm not missing this leadership retreat. He's like, I think you can just like chill for a while. I think, you know, I don't think they expect you to be there. I'm like, we're going. We are going. And I was just on this, I mean, I know there's a bit of when not the same vintage, but certainly that stepping up into senior associate partner. Yep. Boom. That's the ultimate goal.
And it was
for most of us.
And by a time frame.
I
had a time frame in mind, and I don't know what I thought would happen if it didn't. Clearly things have turned out okay, but...
or what you were going to do when you got there. Like, was it like this holy grail that it's like, ta-da, I've arrived, you know?
Yep, no more, just sit down now.
That's right. Done. 30. Done.
Yep, that was it.
Yep.
Yeah, so it was just been very lucky to have, and then so the same mentors have still, as I then made a decision after a while to leave that firm.
Yep.
Just because I'd been there for so long, and particularly in tax, I wanted to learn from someone different, just to see.
Yes.
So just to get, experience different leadership styles, experience a different firm style, and try that on and see what that would do. I just really wanted to grow again. I'd gotten to a point where I was really hungry for more personal growth.
Yes.
It coincided with being divorced, and which was really good in the end, because I reevaluated, who am I, what do I like doing, which
You've got kids too, Jodie.
Yeah, I've got three children, and they keep me going. But and everything I do, is very much for them. But like you, I'd made decisions early on that were very much with my partnership focus in mind. So yeah, they were, mum's back to work and, working long hours and playing in that. So now my decisions are more focused at, still being a great lawyer, still having great opportunities, but keeping that family balance a bit better in check.
Yeah, it's about creating creating that life, thinking about what does that look like for me? What is that kind of ideal life, and how to make that work with family and partner and holidays and work and hobbies or community work or whatever that might be for people. And as you said, that balance or those priorities will be different for different people, all cool, but finding what that right kind of configuration is for you.
Yeah, finding your own journey, I think, is really important. There is no one path. I thought there was, but I discovered as I got older, there's no one path. And there's no one style of lawyer. There's no one style of leader. It's just, finding your true journey and then sticking with that and making sometimes tough choices, choices and consequences around what matters more.
So advice for lawyers then, or just professionals in general around when people are looking at the next opportunity, or maybe looking for the next firm or the next organisation. Tips around that.
I think some of the things that really helped me when I just had no idea, I knew where I wasn't right for me any longer, but didn't really know where to go next. And some of the, none of these I came up with myself, obviously, but some of the exercises that I found most beneficial, one was just, taking some time out really and planning, like, what does my dream day look like at work?
Yes.
And write it down and just take off the lawyer limitations of ideas as they come up, and just let them flow and go, okay, well, I would do this, and then I do that, and then I do this. And then when I started looking at other opportunities, it was then a bit of a pros and cons list,
Yeah.
And again, looking at how that pros and cons list matched my ideal idea of a job. And then realising that it was okay to acknowledge that I might have made a mistake in making one of those choices.
Yes.
So learning to recognise the difference between some things you have to stick at for a while before they gel, like particularly new roles.
Yes.
Particularly going from having been somewhere for 18 years, pretty much knowing everything there was to know about the place, every document that had ever been created, to being the new person, and not even just law, but learning to make friends.
Yes.
Hi,
I'm Jodie.
Will you be my friend? Very much.
I'm really fun.
I promise.
Yes. Yeah. Or I often sing the Cheers song. Sometimes we want to go where everybody knows our name. Everyone's glad we came. And for a similar experience, everyone knew Midja. In the firm, everyone knew Midja. And I didn't even have to introduce myself. Everyone's like, oh, that's Midja. Just let her do what she does and whatever. And then going from a firm where, 900 people know your name to then starting a business with that same name and getting messages like, what's a Midja? And who the hell does she think she is? And all this. And you're like, oh, like I didn't make new friends now. Or, like building that brand and building that that foundation and new relationships and new connections and building trust from ground zero. I mean, you bring all your experience with you, of course. So was that terrifying? Was that exciting? Was that
probably both? It was terrifying and exciting all at the same time.
Yes.
And I'd learnt years ago doing some personal development stuff. That fear and excitement were the same emotion. It's just how your brain processes them. So I would constantly tell myself, "We're not terrified. We're going to have fun." And did. Like I've just been so fortunate to, at every opportunity I've had, to meet great people who I've been lucky enough to maintain long-term relationships with. It's been really lucky in that journey to figure out what kind of leader I want to be and what kind of lawyer I want to be and impact, hopefully, people along the way.
And, is it the case that, once you've ridden the roller coaster once or twice, it's kind of easier to go on the roller coaster again, insofar as, other opportunities or stepping up again to something different?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I found that the scariest choice to make was the very first time I chose to move.
Yeah.
And then making a choice each time became easier. And I think what I learnt was more that I trusted myself in the decision process. There was less little voices of doubt and more, I've got a gut instinct that this is the right thing to do.
Yes.
And I also, I always make decisions based on what's right for me and what's right for the particular firm.
Yeah.
Because even though I might choose to move on, that creates a space for someone else to come in, and that might be the next person's big step in their journey. And I think sometimes now I do want to promote loyalty. I've got lots of junior lawyers.
Please stay.
But it's the equip and release kind of mentality. Equip people, train them well, be very generous with your knowledge. Some will stay forever and some will go, but then hopefully, if we've all done our jobs right, they'll go on and do amazing things.
I love that. And, because I know for me in leadership in my career, I wanted to nail people to the floor. My people, I was like, we're just going to nail them to the floor and just keep them where they are. And the managing partner, when people would resign and stuff, and I'd be like, just losing it. And he would just be like, let them go, Midge. Like, let them go. And, they've learned and they've this and they had this experience. And it was a bit of a lesson for me that, it's people kind of, as you said, have their own kind of journey. And I think particularly now we have, and if you look at like work of the future, we have this kind of on-demand workforce. People want to do interesting work with interesting people on particular projects and come in and do this work and collaborate and do that, and then go and do some other work and then come back and then go here and then like what's the best team to do this piece of work for this client. And but it takes a different mindset to have that sort of fluidity within your work. I think it's a good thing. And I think people want this meaningful work. They want to be doing work that kind of turns them on, and that might mean changing roles. It might mean coming back. And that's all cool. Cool to do that.
It's very cool, and I think that's something, particularly in our profession, we are needing to get much better at. quickly.
Yes.
And it's going to require different approaches and different systems, but you've got the end result is passionate people for the right project, collaboration. It's a lot of work, but there's huge potential.
Absolutely. And I think you can see other industries, kind of doing that insofar as, certain, they'll step in and they'll collaborate with another organisation. You see that sometimes, with some litigation or something like that. So I have seen that in our profession, but I think more of it now, and we're going to see more of it to keep our next generation of lawyers enthused and engaged and motivated and all that kind of stuff. They're going to want more opportunity and different opportunity.
And they're not as fearful around change, I think, at least as what I'm going to call my generation were. They're much more willing to just, have a crack, go travel overseas, hope to get a job when they come back. If not, let's choose our next adventure. It's inspiring, I think. That passion and drive and kind of, let's have a look. We can either sit here and criticise it and
absolutely
say, why can't you just be loyal and stay here for the next 15 years? Or we can say, no, that's amazing. Go out and learn absolutely everything you can, because quite often if you've provided a great environment and a great culture, that in itself will attract people back.
Absolutely.
And if not, you at least create a bigger network.
Yeah. Yeah, love that. So talking of our next generation of lawyers coming through, professionals coming through, what do you think they want from their leaders or from, these positions that they're stepping into? And I know they're different, they're all individuals, so I get that, but just generally from your observations.
Generally, from what I've experienced, is they want a present leader. They really want that leadership from the front concept, to know that their leader is in the trenches with them, helping them, motivating them, encouraging them, inspiring them. And they really want that effort of mentorship.
Yes.
Feedback, I find, is more hands-on than it probably was 10 years ago. So lots of face-to-face feedback, and they want real feedback. So they, despite what we all sometimes read in the media, they don't actually all want a gold star. They want to know, what can I do better?
Yes.
Certainly the amazing young people I've had the privilege to work with want to be the very best that they can be, and they're happy to figure out what does that look like for them. Leadership that's present, lots of opportunity, so good, exciting work. Gone are the days of making tea and coffee and fetching dry cleaning that may or may not have occurred 20 years ago.
I spent a lot of time doing things like that, and I spent a lot of time at the court registry, obviously. A lot of time just sitting there waiting for filing to happen, an hour or two with my little ticket, waiting for my number to be called.
I was very lucky. I was the complete opposite. It was very much a sink or swim mentality. So I turned up, and about a week in, the partner said he was heading off on leave, and here's all the files, and there's plenty of people around here to help you if you can't figure it out, which was awesome.
Yeah, it's a great way to learn.
So good. And, it was only through talking to my friends, they were like, no, that's not what I'm doing.
Yes.
So definitely young people today want that challenging, inspiring work. Happy to still do the hard yards. They're pretty real about what the pathway looks like, in terms of it's not all going to be exciting. But I think certainly the challenge for us as leaders is to get that mix of exciting, challenging work in there, just to keep them interested, and to listen. I think listening is really important when they're talking about what they might be loving or not loving so much, and being alert to, well, hey, they're not particularly enjoying this area, but they've really displaying some skills and attributes that might be suited for another area of law, because they're all so different.
Absolutely.
Require different skill sets, and I think it's really good to be able to help, the young people coming through and figure out, what's their journey, and only they can, make the choice. But I think it's part of our responsibility to identify those attributes, natural giftings, and passion.
Yes.
They really want to be passionate and feel like they're going to work in achieving something, working for a purpose, which, sort of say it's no different for any of us. I don't think anyway. Certainly for me, I want to know that I'm making a difference, that I'm helping people. And sometimes in my area, it's actually helping my staff, not necessarily, the clients. I might be telling them they're going to get a big tax bill, which is not helpful for them. But
yes. I just got one of those. I'm like, maybe we should have done something about that before we put the tax return, and now I have a huge bill to pay off.
You've got to learn to talk
maybe
to me.
I'll talk to you. I need to talk to Jodie later, actually. This is a good point.
Yeah, so it's that purposeful work. And I think that they just know, and they know what they want. And I think as leaders, we need to be really attentive and there for them and provide those opportunities.
Yeah, it's that attentiveness, that presence, listening, that perception, picking things, all of that. And I think I've gone to the days of the absent leader who, comes in, gets the lift to the top floor in the corner office, shuts the door, and you may not see them till either they go to lunch with people or at the end of the day, and you see them once every 6 months, maybe at a performance appraisal when you might get some crumbs of feedback. Yeah, those days are kind of gone.
Yeah, I think so. I think they're well and truly behind us.
And for you around, like next steps for you in sort of your career, like what are you looking forward to next? What's the next kind of few years bring for you?
More of the same for me.
Yep.
I'm really loving where I am. Really loving the ability to learn more, do lots of really challenging work with a great team, go camping, fishing, hang out with the kids.
Yes.
So for me, I've learnt that it's actually okay to really love where I am. And I'm just, for at least a little while, going to sit in this spot. Still learning as much as I can. I've got 3 amazing partners that I'm working with, all with different skills.
Yes.
And all who've been around for a very long time. So learning both from a leadership point of view and a
absolutely
law.
And then you're leading others and being that mentor and that's a space and a skill set as well to develop.
Absolutely. And getting better at that and getting more opportunities to particularly work with the young lawyers. That's my passion. That's what keeps me around.
I love that.
Is watching them grow and watching them just get that light bulb passion moment where they're in their sweet spot.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of lawyer they want to be. So not just sort of making little minions, but helping them to start to work out where they want to be and identify who they are and what kind of lawyer they want to be, and then see them live that out is what makes me so happy.
That's cool. Absolutely. I love those light bulb moments as well, those aha moments. And it's just such a privilege, I think, to be able to, be a facilitator of those kind of moments for people. And people don't forget that. If you think back on the people in your career and your life that have, held the mirror up or helped you through that, they're with you always. And, sometimes when I start leadership programs, I'll ask people to think about 1 or 2 people in their careers, and we talk about them and their attributes. And if they're young lawyers or young professionals, I say, in 10 years' time when I come back to this firm, I want people to be mentioning your name, and they'll never forget you. And that's super cool. Love that. And sometimes you don't know, I meet people and they'll come up and they'll go, I was in a course 15 years ago and you said this. And I'm like, oh, goodness, people are remembering one thing you said in a course. And you're like, okay, well, that's cool.
And it creates another level of accountability.
Oh, jeez.
Because you're like, oh, okay, this works both ways.
Yes, people are actually listening and watching. And as I say to leaders, you're always on show. You're always on stage.
I've had those moments where something will happen. I'm very passionate, so something will happen and The words are out of my mouth and I'm trying to get them back.
I didn't really mean it that way. And if you're just like, yeah, we're just backpedaling a little bit.
And I think all I've done then to, people I've been around is just kind of be vulnerable and authentic and go, you know what, I actually would have handled that differently.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm still, there's still workshops and things, and something comes out or I say something and I'm like, that was not great. I should not. I've either gone down a rabbit hole or I've said something that, I still have those moments. I'm like, yeah, what are you going to do?
it's out, and you never know. That little rabbit hole might actually help someone.
I hope so. Jodie, you know that this podcast is also about love, and I am, we've had many a drink over cocktails, many conversations. I'm looking for big love in my life. I know you have found big love in your life. Talk to me a little bit about this, about big love, and give me some advice, Jodie, and our listeners who are out there forever searching.
Oh, I think when it came time for me to start looking for love again, I did it a bit like I do things at work, and had a bit of a list and, right, let's go. Off I go doing the task. And that didn't go very well that way. Met some great people, but never really found the right person for me. And then gave up pretty much. I went, well, I'm just going to hang out by myself for a while. And it was like the moment I gave up was the moment that, the universe presented me with this handsome hunk of a man who by then I'd gotten sick of the rules, because I didn't realise there were so many rules.
There's a lot of rules. It hurts my head.
I know. And so I'm very much, bug of the rules. Walked up, said hello. I really like you. I had a bit of wine in me, so it probably went a bit differently to that.
Yeah, I think you're cute.
Yeah. And very much just, we hit it off amazingly. And, he challenges me because I'm quite, passionate and opinionated, but in a really good way, and kind of brings out the best, the absolute very best. And it was, for me, the big moment was finding that person who loved me for all of me. Like, I'd finally gotten to a self-journey part where I had learnt to love all bits of me.
Yes.
And, he loved my whole self and didn't expect me to change anything or do anything different. It was just, he thought I was hilarious and just laughs when I'm, saying something ridiculous. And, it was that moment of, loving my whole self, then being brave enough to let someone else. And when he came along, I just didn't wait. I pretty much told him instantly, like, hey, that was, you're so much fun to hang around.
Let's do this. Yeah.
And he's the same. So
I love that.
Yeah. So that was very much it. So I'd say get rid of all the dating apps and head back to the pub.
Right.
All the good men are at the pub.
Right.
Funnily enough.
Watch out, GC, this weekend. I'm having the wine, I'm at the pub, and I'm just approaching people at the bar.
And a different one. I think that was the other thing. I'd never ever been to this particular venue. I went there because there was a country band playing that I love.
Okay.
So I got out of my comfort zone, went somewhere different, tried something different, and wasn't even wasn't looking for that. I was just there for a really cool band, and
found him.
So I think the dating advice I would have is just put it out there. Like, don't be afraid of getting hurt, and don't be afraid of looking silly. We do stuff all the time. Yeah.
There's a lot out there of me. I think that's bolted already. Yeah. But there's something about that that fear of or risk of rejection in that dating field. And certainly for me, dating has, I think, made a big impact on my business, just my confidence as a whole. Like, I've had a lot of first dates, Jodie. Like, Like the number is crazy. I've been single 7 years, so lots of dates. You know, I've gone stage where sometimes 2 dates a week.
Yep.
So the numbers add up. And it's just like, now I'm just like, hey, this is me. You know, there's like, maybe a little bit nervous, I guess, but excited. Back to that, I'm just excited. But it's been great for business as well, because now for me, I have the same approach with my business and my clients, and I keep it very light. And I'm like, hey, this is me and this is what I do. Do you want that? Is that something that would add value or not? And if not, that's cool.
And I think that's the authenticity piece.
Yeah.
You know, and being authentic in everything. So business, love, all of it, and being around people who embrace your authentic self.
Yeah.
And encourage it.
That's what I love. That's what I love. All right, we are going to finish with our message from the universe, as we always do. So we have Carpe Diem or Trust Your Crazy Ideas.
Trust your crazy ideas.
Yes, I knew that one was happening. I don't even know why I really asked. Right, pick a card. We don't have many cards left. I've got to buy some more. And pop open the front, Jodie, of that and tell us the message for you.
Oh, very exciting. I love this. The world is your playground, from Ellie Katz.
That is so you. That is, you see, you get what you're meant to get from the magic box of life messages.
Absolutely.
Life's a playground. Love that. Jodie, where can people find you, chat to you, your platforms of choice, I guess?
So via the McCullough Robertson website, my email is jrobinson@McCullough, which is MCCULLOUGH.com.au. Otherwise, you can drop me a line at any time on 3233-8689. And reach out, please. Happy to talk about anything, tax, life in law, what that looks like.
Yeah, perfect.
Absolutely open book. So
wonderful. It's been so good to have you, Jodie. Thank you so much for taking the time out and coming into the studio. And that is a wrap for this week's podcast. I'm Midja, and go out there this week and have a fabulous week in life and love and in leadership. And we'll see you next Monday. Thanks, everyone. Thank God it's Monday.
We trust you enjoyed this episode of the Mondays with Midja podcast. Host Midja Fisher is a leadership expert, keynote speaker, coach and facilitator. To find out more about Midja, visit midja.com.au or follow her on Instagram, Midja Fisher, and make sure you subscribe, share and leave a review.